I'm a 3D design and implementation specialist on the New York team, and today I'll be showing a vendor and brand workflow that is possible by showing what different job roles can do using CLO-SET. I'll also be introducing a new feature called 3D Quality Check that you're able to use as a part of this workflow to help out your teams. This session is broken into 3 parts. I'll briefly go through the 3D Quality Check tool, then live demo a possible workflow between brands and vendors, and lastly, we'll have some time for question and answer. If you're new to CLO-SET, which is our online hosting and collaboration platform, please visit the website and YouTube channel for other information and videos, which includes all the previous webinars. For example, last round, the webinar was about the material configurator and showing some workflows that are possible in there. Before starting my team through their process, as a manager or admin, I can set up quality check so it can scan the files based on my quality standards that are inputted. This is a newer feature, so this workflow will include it. This will help to automate the checking process a bit without having to always go all the way back into CLO to check that certain things have been included or excluded from the file. Before showing the full workflow, I'll do a quick run through of generally what the brand and vendor workflow could look like. Starting at the beginning, a brand would set up the overall structure, invite the proper team members, and set up the 3D quality check. The vendor can then be added at the right level of the structure and create a 3D sample based on the vendor standards that have been set in place. When the vendor submits the sample, brand teams can then use the suite of tools on CLO-SET to check through the style to make sure that it hits the standards and assess for other factors like general fit and appearance. Once internal teams have time to review the style, they can leave feedback for their vendors and maybe request another virtual sample be made. And then lastly, vendors can take this feedback away, make corrections, and resubmit. And of course, the last 2 steps you'd keep doing until you reach a version of the garment that you're happy with. So this is what we're going to put into practice now. And I'll switch my screen here, and we'll get started. First, at the beginning, I'll start by creating my structure. Over to the left, you can see I've started my structure by separating by vendor at the highest level. I've added team members either at the company, brand, or workroom level, depending on what they need to see and what they need to interact with. So here you can see I've got my actual pair of categories at workroom level. In the admin console, I can set up user groups to easily batch invites and to tag groups of people while working. For instance, if I need my technical design men's bottoms teams as one group, I can easily tag them all together using that feature. As a manager, I want to make it as easy as possible for my team to know whether the file has been set up correctly, and this is where quality check can help. If I'm a company admin, I can go into company settings, content, 3D quality check, and turn it on to start setting my parameters. These are based on my vendor standards and can help my team know automatically if a file has been set up properly for review. Quality check is broken down into 6 major sections that correspond to specific settings that can be added within a CLO file. And each section has a number of line items, but obviously you would only fill out what is relevant for your standards. Starting at the top here, we have our 3D settings, such as has the right particle distance range been used in a file. We then have simulation and temporary pattern settings such as strengthen or freeze being excluded. Materials such as have the right material maps been added to all fabrics, trim, and top stitch. Avatar settings to check the right avatar and size have been used in the file. And lastly, other with a few more options at the bottom. Once I click apply at the very bottom of that window, every file uploaded to that company will be scanned for these settings. We also have a full guide in the same page that goes through all available fields and how to set it up. And we also have a general quality standards guide on the CLO website. Now that I have everything set up, I'll go through my actual process. Maybe if I'm a designer, maybe I've ideated something or found an existing block and aggregated information along with the tech designer to request a vendor sample. So here I'm tagging the relevant folks in the comments. The vendor will then go into CLO and create a sample to upload back into CLO-SET for the team to review. That can be done directly through the CLO interface. Now that we have a first round sample, we'll need to go through and actually audit the style. If we start to the left here by looking at the quality check, we can see that it's actually failed. And we're going to go into the quality check page to see exactly what line items didn't pass. Anything with a green check mark passed the check. Anything with the red triangle here means it did not pass that item when it was scanned. And lastly, the gray check marks mean that it wasn't being scanned for that setting. I didn't set it up in the quality check page. If I check the box here for view only failed, I can start to comb the items that have failed. If you click on the clipboard icon, for instance, on the strengthen item here, you are able to see what exact patterns were strengthened, which means I don't have to go into the CLO file, which is really nice. And all of these line items, along with the specific callouts, can be used as vendor feedback that is visible and can be then corrected on the next submit. As a side note, the file needs to be saved in CLO version 2024.2 or later to be compatible with the quality check feature. Now that I've gone through quality check, we already know we need another version, but let's check through everything else first. The garment information area will give us some information pulled from the file and will allow for manual input in other areas such as minimum order quantity or in custom fields to centralize some of your information in one place. There's also tags and categories, which can make this block easily searchable. For instance, if I want to use it in a different season or different development later. We'll be coming back to this area to set our vendor score once we go through everything else. Maybe I'm a tech designer doing a first pass review. So there might be some things I start by checking in the 3D viewer. If I show my avatar and hide the garment, we can easily see in this case, the avatar size is wrong in 3D. But if I'm using a CLO default avatar, I probably won't be able to know that until I use the quality check or go into the base CLO file. I can also use unhide my garment to check balance, which we can see is pretty off. That means I probably wouldn't do a full fit review of the style because it fully isn't set up right for those types of in-depth checks. I may also take a quick glance at the stretch map, which will show me hot spots on the garment. So here, for instance, I can see the cuffs are stretching, but since this is a ribbed material, I would expect that it would be stretching around the wrist. I would need to go into the CLO file for the specific value and to use the stress or pressure map along with the stretch map to fully review the style. If I want to isolate a specific pattern or fabric type, I can use the 3D Tech Pack view. For instance, in this case, I know the pockets have strengthening, but I can still see how they are draping inside the body. For instance, here over to the right. I could also use this view to find a pattern that's causing a simulation problem. So if you're seeing some instability, this view can be helpful to find the culprit of some of those simulation errors. In this case, I know the drape will need to be fixed in a future version, but I may want to check the 2D pattern shapes in the 2D viewer. I can, just like in CLO, have some vertical toggle menu items such as grain line or showing the points of measure. And I can see already that my back piece actually has the wrong grain direction, which could throw off the drape for reviewing. We'll be making annotations later. I may want to check to make some notes on our patterns. Both designers and tech designers may want to check the web tech pack for some different listed out information. that is pulled from the CLO file. Starting with the BOM tab here, this might be helpful for designers who need to check through colorways and the materials and trims that are included in each colorway. Pricing is pulled from the CLO BOM editor. You can also manual input unit price costs directly in those fields. Up at the top, we also have a construction tab to make custom construction pages if needed from templates. And we have a measurement tab where I can see all my points of measure. So for instance, if I'm a technical designer, I may want to check the right lines are there. And I may want to compare versions, which can be up at the top. So you can quickly switch through all your versions and compare what was done in previous versions of the file. I can also create some tolerance and free write comments in the same area. Overall for TechPack, this is the online hosted one, and there's also an Excel download. If I'm a designer, I may want to check the colorways out in more depth and maybe add a new colorway. And for this, I can use the material configurator. This will let me look at maps or add new prints for a new printway. I can also check out my Pantone or color library or upload my own palette to change out the colors and create my new colorway here that is visible to other team members and can also be downloaded within the CLO file for further editing. Both teams may elect to leave comments and annotations on the garment for the next iteration. So over here in comments, I can aggregate the feedback, tag the right people to make the changes. Designers may elect to mark maybe style lines or general fit comments in the 3D window using annotations like I'm doing here. This is an easy way to leave more visual feedback and include imagery if you want that's living in the 3D space. If I'm a tech designer, I may go in with specific feedback to do with the patterns. So I'm switching back into the 2D viewer here, where I'll mark out that the grain line was incorrect, which is what we found earlier. So this is easily findable by the right parties to make sure that the feedback is really clear. After leaving our comments, I'll set a vendor score. In this case, I'll set a vendor score of 6 because there are key details missing that actually prevent me from doing a full review of the file. Of course, this is very loose, so it would be based on your vendor standards and how much you weight certain aspects to assign that score. We've requested another sample, so now we can see actually that the new version that is uploaded passed the quality check, which is great. We can also see that the balance of the garment has been fixed, which means we can do a more full review, and I would take more of an opportunity to look at the fit maps more in depth in this version of my garment. Once your garments get more through the development process, you may end up needing to take a look at the full lineup through line sheet view or the Excel downloaded line sheet. Starting off with line sheet view, this is available at the workroom level. You can easily scan through information and all colorways in one place. You could also change your fields to custom information that needs to be added. In the Excel download, which you can see here, I'm downloading the entire workroom. This gives an easy way to see basic information from the garment information area and all of your colorways aggregated into imagery. So instead of having to actually go all the way back into the CLO file to export all of those snapshots, this is a nice quick way to get those images. That brings us to the end of the presentation for this particular workflow. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is just one workflow that's possible between brands and vendors. For more in-depth information and assistance, please contact your CLO support team for advice that's more specific to your company and how you work. Now that